Hello, my name is Lindsay. Thank you for joining me today. Today my talk is called Meet Your Pet, Discover the Individual Needs of Your Pet and Maximise Your Relationship, and I hope that it will help you to start thinking critically about what your pet needs and the relationship you have with your pet. So I would ask you to leave all of the information you know about your pet to one side and let's have a little see if we can get you thinking slightly differently about things. So I work at Woodgreen. I'm on the Behaviour Training Specialist team. We support pets both in our care and pets in the community. So quite often we are giving phone advice to people who are struggling with their pets' behaviours, and obviously we're offering support to those animals that live in our rehoming centre. I'm also a dog trainer with the Association of Pet Dog Trainers, which means I'm an accredited training instructor with the Animal Training and Behaviour Council. I'm COPE certified animal behaviourist, and I've just finished my first year of clinical animal behaviour at University of Edinburgh, which was tough. I'm also a big advocate for bully breeds. The two dogs in the picture, I still have the brindle and white one, but unfortunately I lost a little black one about 18 months ago, and I miss him terribly. So we're going to have a little chat today. I'm going to talk to you about how you can start to recognise the individual needs of your pet. Because the best way to build a bond with an individual, whether it's human or animal, is to enjoy mutual interests and common experiences and communicate with each other well. So hopefully by the end of this talk, you'll be able to think critically about the relationship you have with your pet and think about what makes your pet an individual, and hopefully you can come up with some ideas of different activities that your pet might enjoy, some different ways of suiting the environment they live in to their needs, and this will strengthen your bond with them and your relationship with them. So we're going to have a little look to start off with dog breeds and differences. We're going to look at canine communication. We're going to look at some fun activities you might like to try with your dog, and then we're going to talk a little bit about cats and small animals towards the end. I am a dog person, although I've had cats and small animals in my life, but my specialism is dogs. So I've asked my cat and small animal colleagues to give me the information. So hopefully it's enough to get you interested and give you what you need to change things maybe. So first of all, we'll start with dogs. What is a dog? So the wolf is the ancestor of the dog, but there's been a lot of changes in behaviour and how they look and how they live over the years that domestication has happened. Domestic dogs live in slightly different social groups to the wolf, more like our kind of family groups, with loose associations with other known individuals. Domestication was probably a process that was driven on both sides. Maybe the humans favoured particular coloured dogs that were around, the tamer individuals that showed they had a use, maybe rodent control or clean-up crew, and dogs who were calmer, less fearful, were able to take advantage of this niche for successful breeding and successful obtaining of food, living around human settlements, because human settlements would have been a place that was safe and there was food and things available. So the domestication probably happened from both ends, but then particular individuals, dog individuals, who showed a likelihood for a particular behaviour, maybe guarding, maybe hunting, they would also be favoured because they would have had a use, and because they were favoured they would have had preferential breeding opportunities, so their genes would have been passed on, and that's continuing on to where we are today. This is where all our modern breeds come from. Originally they were bred for a job, so their genetics will have influenced the way they behave and the way they look. So this is what we call the predatory motor pattern, the PMP. It's the complete sequence here. This is what you would find in a wolf, but most of our dog breeds have had this altered or changed somehow. Some of it will have gone completely, some of it will be there very faintly and maybe only show up occasionally, and some of it will be very exaggerated. And this allows them to carry out their specific jobs that we require of them. So the top picture is a livestock guarding breed. These dogs live out in the wild with their flock 24/7. The idea is that they are a deterrent from predators. So they do not have the last part of this predatory motor pattern, you'd be a pretty rubbish livestock guardian breed if you were hunting your your animals you were supposed to be guarding. So they tend to have the kind of Orient eye element of this, so they are very observant, they're still, they will assess the environment, they notice what's going on around, and anything that goes on they will bark, but they don't tend to have the chase or the grab bite, and certainly not the killing part of this predatory motor pattern. Then down in the bottom corner we have a border collie, showing that lovely stalk behavior that they do. So all border collies will have Orient eye stalk chase going on, but they don't tend to have the grab bite, kill bite, dissect and consume portion of this, because again they can't be doing that on the sheep that they're herding. And then we have a Labrador retrieving a duck from a pond, and they don't tend to have the stalking and the hard biting part of the pattern. So they have everything else they need to run out, pick the prey up and bring it back. So all of these behaviours are influenced by genetics, which means if you have one of these breeds, they are more likely to show these behaviours because it's in them, and that might be problematic if you weren't expecting them, or when your border collie starts rounding up the children, or when your Labrador pinches your slippers and runs around the garden with them, or your livestock guarding breed doesn't let strangers in the house. It can be a problem. So we'll have a little closer look at some of the breed groups. I am going to make some sweeping generalizations here, and there will be exceptions. There's exceptions to every rule. Not every Labrador is a Labrador. You know, there is going to be some differences, but we're going to be talking generally. So let's start off having a little look at hounds. Some breed examples of hounds include greyhounds, lurchers, Salukis, whippets, beagles and basset hounds. So you have scent hounds and sight hounds. The clue is in the name. And they are bred for hunting using scent, your basset hounds and your bloodhounds and things like that. Will find a scent with their nose and follow it. And the sight hounds, your greyhounds, your lurchers, they are bred for spotting things with their eyes and then chasing it down. They have a complete predatory motor pattern, so they're really, really strong hunters. Generally, they have poor recall. And they can be quite vocal, but what kind of activities do you think they will enjoy? Kind of obvious one would be certainly for your scent hounds, anything scent related. So this could be simply getting the children to run and hide behind a tree, so the dog has to follow their scent to find them behind the tree, or it could be hiding their food around the garden, hiding their toys around the garden, giving them different ways to snuffle. And for your sight hounds, they also have a need to chase, so chasing the toys that you can get on the long strings, they're quite good fun, and space to run, stretch those legs. They don't need a lot of that. They're not particularly energetic. A couple of laps of a large space would probably be enough for them. But thinking about the kind of activities they would enjoy, it's going to be about seeking, searching, hunting, chasing, following a scent, things like that. And then we've got our guardian type breeds. Big, gentle giant, tolerant with the family, excellent guard dogs. So they don't have the full predatory motor pattern because they weren't generally used for hunting, so they tend to be quite calm. They tend to like to observe, like to take things in their own time, can be quite wary of strangers, and protective of their family. So what kind of activities do we think that they would like? Actually, maybe their ideal walk, rather than a quick whiz round the local rec, maybe their walk would be stopping and observing and chilling out in one area, because that's the kind of activity that they will naturally enjoy given their breeding. They can learn, they can do training, they can learn tricks, they can do all of that sort of stuff. But actually, if we give them the job of supervising, looking, things like that, they're going to be very into that. That's going to be right up their street. The issues that people can have with these is that they can be quite suspicious of strangers, so it can be a little bit of a problem should you be experiencing that with your dog, because they're quite big and hard to handle if they are problematic on walks. So allowing them to assess situations, giving them time to look, can sometimes reduce any reactivity that you're seeing because they're processing the information, and also it's a behaviour that they would naturally enjoy doing anyway. And then we come to the gun dog group. Hugely popular breeds, these guys. Often described as having a Peter Pan complex because do they ever actually really grow up? So this group includes spaniels, retrievers, labradors, pointers. They were and still are very much used for hunting birds with humans. So some of them will locate a bird, flush it into the air so they can be shot. Some of them will just run out and retrieve them. They'll retrieve them from anywhere: water, mud, the bushes. So they generally have quite low hazard avoidance. They will throw themselves at anything. Generally hugely sociable and very enthusiastic about life. These guys will try their paw at any opportunity, any activity you want to give them. They excel at scent work and hunting games because that's they're designed for that. And some of them, there's a lot of spaniels that do things like agility and excel at it. The problem with these guys is if you don't keep them busy, particularly if you've got working line gun dogs, they will find mischief because they're not getting fulfilled. But even doing some simple scent work and searching games during your walks and in the garden can fulfill their needs, and they'll be much more satisfied and fulfilled with their day. And now terriers. So we've got a picture of a Jack Russell and a mini Schnauzer here. These guys are independent hunting dogs. They were pest control, so they literally will go off quite happily on their own and do their thing. They've got a full predatory motor pattern, so they can be feisty. They can have high prey drive. They are going to like any activity that involves searching, rummaging around, so any kind of hide and seek games, any games that involve hiding, rummaging in undergrowth or anything like that, they're going to love. They're going to love problem solving games because they've got that level of independence. They really don't need support from us. They'll go off and do stuff quite happily on their own. If you don't fulfill their needs, you might see barking or hear barking. They can be quite easily aroused, and you find that they'll bark at people walking by in the street. They might be problematic with dogs when they're out and walking, and usually this is because they're not having that high energy outlet fulfilled. So thinking of different activities. They can be quite destructive, so giving them stuff to destroy, cardboard boxes to destroy. Most soft toys don't tend to last too long with these guys, and that's, some people are fine with that, some people are not. I do know people who regularly stitch up their toys, give them back to their terriers just for them to be ripped up again, but terriers love it. So the owners don't mind doing it, so it's all good fun. And you will get mischievous, you will get difficult behaviours, challenging behaviours if they're not fulfilled, because they are such high energy dogs. And that brings us to the herding dogs, the dogs that are designed to help us manage stock. So most commonly sheep and cows, but probably are used for alpacas and things like that these days. Border collies, Australian shepherds, Belgian shepherds, German shepherds, your Shelties, they are very ready to go. They are an excellent sidekick if you're an active person, and these are the kind of dogs that will just come and do anything with you all the time. They love to be with their people and they love to be doing stuff with them. But the difficult side of them is that they can be a workaholic. They want to be doing stuff all the time. So if you don't give them adequate outlets, they're going to find ways to fulfill that. So we can end up with problems like car chasing or chasing joggers and cyclists and things in the park. There has been cases of them light chasing, just to fulfill that that control of movement need that they have. They've got a lot of energy, so they often will enjoy active pursuits, so things like agility, hoopers, flyball, stuff like that. It's often these guys that are involved in that. But they will put their hand to scent work, they will put their hand to quieter activities, and that can be quite nice for them just to slow down and get them thinking. searching for stuff in the garden and things like that is an excellent activity. There's also activities like tribal with these dogs, where they get those big yoga balls and they get the dogs to move around with them, to mimic sheep herding. So that might be worth having a little look at if you have one of these dogs that you're struggling with. They don't have a full predatory motor pattern. They don't have that grab, bite, kill, bite at the end of it, but they have a lot of eye, stalk, chase behaviours, and those are the kind of things that we need to give them an outlet for, because those are the kind of things that feel good for them to do and the things that they want to do. So any activities that involve that sort of thing are great, but also activities that slow them down and get them thinking. So absolutely, they're going to be the kind of dog that loves to go to the park and chase a ball, but they're also going to be the kind of dog that needs calming activities. Otherwise, you're never going to get them to switch off. So we wanted to have a little quick look at dog body language, because like I said at the beginning, to really have a good bond with somebody, communication is key. And as humans, we're pretty rubbish at listening to and understanding what our dogs are saying. So this is worth having a decent look at, particularly if you've got children. Teach them this, help them stay safe. So the early signs of a dog being uneasy are pretty subtle. So they can be turning their head away, turning their body away. The little one you can't see because I'm in front of it is licking their lips. They'll often flash their tongue, lick their nose a little bit, to start off with, at that first sign of just a little bit of unease. They might yawn. That'll be out of context slightly. And our dogs are often super tolerant, so they may only just start showing these signals and then never go anywhere with them. But it's if what a relief to our dogs if we saw them lick their lips and turn their head away slightly and we went, oh, sorry, mate, I'll stop doing that to you. How relieved would they feel that they've suddenly got this person who can speak their language? Their signals are a really, really polite request for space. So we should learn to listen to them, because if we ever get into a situation where the dog is feeling really anxious, really worried, and we have not listened to those early signals, we are entering into the realm of actually the only way they can get us to listen is to growl at us or even snap. And that's, we tend to take big offense at that. It's still very normal dog communication, but we don't like it if our own dog growls at us. And we can avoid that, and we can keep children safe by just learning these low-level signals. And again, massive relief for the dog once they realise that their human understands them. One of the things that's quite nice to do is what we call a consent test, and you can do this on your own dog, or you can do this when you first meet a dog, and it's simply fussing the dog, stroking them, touching them for maybe 3-4 seconds, and then take your hands off and see if they kind of wiggle and lean into you and say, that was nice, do that again, or maybe they do a little shake and then they move away. And if you take your hands off them, that gives them the opportunity to move away, whereas actually some dogs might not do it if you continue to hold them, particularly when we put our hands kind of on their shoulders and around their neck a little bit. Maybe they can't move away. But that consent test allows you to find out whether the dog was actually enjoying that interaction, whether they want it to carry on, or actually whether that's enough. And again, what a relief for the dog when people start giving them these opportunities. So there's some excellent resources around dog body language. There is a book, I think it might be called Doggy Body Language by Lily Chin, which is really quite nice for children if you want to go through that. But yeah, definitely take some time to understand what your dog's trying to say to you. So this brings us on to some different activities that you could do, depending on from your dog's breed type, what you think he might enjoy. So this is a video of my dog Buzz, who is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. So if we think about the terrier side of things, they are hunters, they are independent, they want to do stuff on their own, they can be quite destructive, and because he's a bully, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, he wants a similar sized opponent. So a decent sized cardboard box gives him that kind of wrestling challenge that he really, really wants. He can rip it up to his heart's content. I'm quite obviously careful that he's not going to consume any of that cardboard. Daisy there is just wondering what on earth is going on with all this mess. She's learning how to do it herself. but this will keep him quiet for a long time, and he'll be tired afterwards because he'll be very, very fulfilled with his needs. Yep, there's some mess afterwards in the kitchen, absolutely, but I'd much rather have this level of mess in the kitchen than them doing this, ripping up soft furnishings or even the lawn or anything like that, because this is controlled and this is safe, and he loves it. And we all get big deliveries, don't we, these days, to cardboard boxes through the door. So yeah, let the dogs rip them up before you put them in the recycling bin, or it's much easier to compost when it's all in tiny bits like that. And here we have another video of Buzz. I'll just start it playing. This is a ball pool. These are really quite readily available on some of the social media marketplace sites that you can, people are getting rid of these paddling pools, and even the balls as well. But these are great for dogs where you want them to search. You can sprinkle food in there, or you could even fill that with plastic bottles and give them that kind of rummaging. So any terriers, any of your gun dogs that you want to encourage searching, even your hounds, your scent hounds, encourage them to search with their nose, things like this. This is a really great way, again, of safely doing an exercise, and this is a great kind of thing on a hot day or a rainy day because you can do it inside. And yeah, you can just fill this with stuff, cardboard boxes, plastic bottles, anything like that, for them to roll around in. Excellent enrichment for them, really gets them thinking. And I'll play the video again for you. You might end up, the younger one there, she's trying to steal a ball and run off with it, but you can really see he's pushing around with his head, having a good search in the balls. Really excellent kind of activity for most dogs. One of the things that can be quite fun to do is offering an eating experience. So we often hear talk about the whole feeding, enrichment feeding and things like that, and actually, is that always a good thing? Do we want to always use Kongs and puzzle feeders to feed our dogs? Is it always enjoyable? And some dogs, yes, it is. Some dogs, it's absolutely really enjoyable and they love it. Some dogs, it might be a little bit samey. Some dogs just want to mix it up. But offering your dog this kind of platter of different types of food, obviously you need to perhaps do some research to find out what is safe, but different tastes, different flavors, different textures can all add interest to a meal. So I really like doing this because it slows them down, it gets them thinking while they're eating, and it gives you a few different ideas to things that they like. So there's raw meat on here, there's cooked meat, there's a raw egg, there's vegetables, there's fruit, all in tiny portions, because actually having this eating experience can be just as enriching as a puzzle feeder. It's just allowing them to process information in a different way. So yeah, have a think about doing this. Is something that I like to do regularly. So here are some things to think about. Perhaps knowing different stuff about your particular breed, thinking about where they've come from and what they have been bred to do. Maybe you would like to investigate further some of these activities. So scent work and scent games recreate hunting and searching, and to be honest, I don't think I've ever met a dog that isn't up for a bit of hunting and searching with their nose. They love it. Then we've got free work, which offers the opportunity to explore different items, different experiences and different equipment. That's the picture at the top there. We've just simply laid out a load of stuff for dogs to wander around and explore. You can sprinkle little bits of food, you can let dogs do it in their own time. Really nice way of just encouraging them to mooch and move slowly. And then we've got parkour. I think I'm in the front of the picture, but the picture at the bottom of the dog standing on the tyre. Dogs like to be up high, and teaching them about putting their feet, even just their front feet, on something or climbing up on something. If it's slow and done under control, it can be really nice for some dogs. Terriers usually love it. They want to climb all over everything anyway at home. So doggy parkour gives you the opportunity to do that with a little bit of control and with safety in mind. Then we've got all the different dog sports, agility and flyball. Everybody's generally heard of these things. and they are great fun. And then we've got barn hunt, which is increasing in popularity in the UK. Basically, it's a maze built out of straw bales with a scent in for dogs to find, so excellent for terriers and hunting dogs. And then we've got hoopers, which is great for older dogs because it isn't so hard on their joints. It's not like jumping around like agility. And yeah, hoopers is really, really nice, and it's very open to all. So even if you have a dog who struggles being around other dogs, hoopers is a sport that they can all do. And think about your walks and exercise. Try and tailor them to your individual dog. Doesn't always have to be a rush, and actually not. Sometimes it's nice just to slow down and go at a slower pace, so you can really experience everything. Let the dogs really get their nose down and do lots of sniffing, especially if they're in that scent hound group, or even some of the gun dogs, some of the terriers. They love to get their noses down. Explore, go somewhere new. Let your dog lead the way. That's quite a novel experience. Don't go on a planned route. Just bimble along behind your dog. Pop them on a slightly longer lead and let them lead the way at their speed. Or simply walk down to your local park or shopping centre, sit on a bench and watch the world go by. That can be really nice. It's nice to have that time just in the moment with your dog, and nice to have that experience because it's not, we're exercising the senses in that environment. So yeah, some dogs really like that, and your kind of guardian breeds may very well be extra happy to just to sit and supervise and watch the world go by. But it might be the case that you experiment with all of these different things, and each of your dogs like something different, and maybe what they like isn't related to their breed. As I said earlier, it's just a place to start. There's going to be exceptions to every rule. So yes, have a little play, and see what your individual dog likes. So let's move on to having a think about cats. And generally, the basic requirement for cats are all very similar. They all want fresh food and water, which kept separate. So those little bowls that you buy where they're joined together, great for us, not ideal for cats. They like them very separate. They like multiple litter trays. So if you've got, even if your cat goes outdoors, there's no harm in providing a litter tray on indoors for him to use. And if you've got multi-cats in your house, you probably want one litter tray each and then a spare one, kept away from the food and water. And trays in different areas. You can even provide different cat litters, which again gives them choice. And if you've got a new cat, you may want to experiment, see what litters they like. They will all have a preference. Particularly important again in multi-cat homes, hiding and perching areas. Some cats like to be down low, hiding under stuff. Some cats like to be up high, looking down on all of the things. They need scratching areas, vertical and horizontal. And again, if your cat goes out, they've probably got scratch areas outside. But if you don't provide them inside, there's every chance they're going to have a go at your sofa and your stairs. Now, enrichment, this is something we talk about a lot with dogs, but it's something that cats can really enjoy as well. It will vary from cats to cat as to how bothered they are about doing stuff, but some cats love to do feeding enrichment, and I've got some videos to show you shortly. But of course, toys are the ultimate enrichment for cats. It's when they get to practice their hunting skills, and a really nice way of bonding. If we can encourage them to chase a toy that we're holding. So toys on a stick or toys on a string made of feathers and things like that, excellent. That really gets their hunting instinct going. And you can encourage them to jump and climb with the toys, so you can get them physically moving their body and keeping fit that way. And I asked my colleague to kind of summarise different cat personalities. So maybe you could have a think about whether your cat fits into one of these kind of personalities. So feral, under-socialised. They're not common in homes as pets just because they don't fit in there. But generally these cats thrive by being left to their own devices. So they may be the kind of cats that hang around outside, stable cats, things like that. They will come and approach you and be tolerant of you being around, but they don't want to be picked up. They don't want to be handled. They perhaps don't even want you to walk towards them with your hand out. They are generally best left alone. Sometimes you can get them to play, but because often these guys live outside, they're getting enough hunting and have an outlet for all of their natural behaviours just by the nature of where they live. And then we've got our in-between cats. I think this is most cats, to be fair. These cats like things on their own terms. They will seek out affection when they want it, and they may react negatively when they don't want it, and that can all change within 10 seconds. These are the kind of cats that sometimes you're stroking them and then suddenly they don't want it. They don't want it anymore. So learning to read their body language is really, really key to building that relationship of trust. If you can learn to read the signals that they don't want to interact, this will prevent them needing to use any aggression to get you to back off. And then we've got what we've affectionately termed the bread and butter cats. Not really sure where that came from, but these are the cats that are very needy. They always want to be picked up, or as soon as you sit down in the chair, vroom, they're there and they're on your lap. They easily get overstimulated if you're giving them affection, and this can result in love nips, as we call them, where they're actually biting on you. Sometimes it is really hard to read their body language when they're becoming overstimulated. So these are the guys, though, I'd always have a toy handy. So if they look like they want to grab you with their paws, or they're having a bite, you can redirect them onto a toy. And those big Kong toys that you can get, the kickaroos, I think they're called, so they can grab it with their front legs and kick with their back. They're perfect as an outlet for these guys. So let's have a look at cat communication now, because a big part of bonding and having a super relationship with your pet or another person is learning how they communicate. Understanding when they want to interact and when they don't is an excellent way of building trust. So here are some positive and negative signals that your cat may give when they're unhappy. So signs that a cat is feeling good about a situation: they'll have their tail held high, they'll have soft blinking eyes, they'll be walking confidently around you. They don't tend to hiss or growl when they're feeling happy. You may hear purring, and you may hear different forms of kind of high-pitched squeaky vocalizations. Their ears will be up but relaxed, and their whole body will look relaxed. It is important to note that purring, just because they're purring doesn't mean to say they're happy. You do have to look at the whole cat's body language to pick that up, because purring can, they'll also purr when they feel stressed or in pain. So make sure you're looking at their whole body when you're trying to decipher what they're saying. And then we've got the more negative signals, so they will be low to the ground, even when they're still or walking. They might be slightly crouched. They will move slowly. You may very well get hissing and growling, and there's no mistaking those sounds. They absolutely, you know exactly when cats are hissing or growling. They might be trying to avoid you, so sometimes they can move a little erratically if they're looking for an escape route to get away. Their ears are down, they're pinned back. Pinned to their head. Their eyes tend to be large, their pupils are large, and their tail will be low. And there'll be low tail carriage. So all of those signals are signs that a cat is feeling uncomfortable. Hissing and growling are designed to make you back away, whereas obviously if they haven't got the alternative to move away themselves, which I think is always going to be their first option for most cats, then they will hiss and growl to try and make you back away. But if you see any of those negative signals, it's really important to stop what you're trying to do to the cat, if possible, and let them calm down before you start trying to interact with them again. So here's some feeding enrichment ideas for cats. This is my cat Nelson using his paw to get food out, get some biscuits. So this is ideal for cats if you've got an indoor cat, or you've got a cat that needs to lose some weight and maybe not eat so much. But it also gets them thinking, a little bit of problem solving, certainly not a bad thing for these guys. And you can use shop bought enrichment, or you can make yourself some homemade enrichment. Here is Enzo with his toilet rolls. So there's kibble and treats inside the toilet rolls. So again, he's got to use his foot to grab that out so he can eat it. And this will slow their meals down and kind of recreate that. I'm to go and rummage and hunt for it. If you think about how cats eat, they eat little and often throughout the day whenever they successfully manage to hunt. So this will keep them busy, keep them moving, keep their brain entertained. And leave them less time for any mischievous and naughty behaviour. So let's move on to the needs of small animals. At Woodgreen, we rehome many species of small animals, and that's pretty massive because every single species has their own individual needs. Most of them are prey species, so they like to live with another one or within a group, and they need plenty of space to hide, climb and explore. So when you're looking to get a new pet, see if you can find out as much about how they live in the wild as possible. And when you bring your pet home, observe them, see what kind of stuff they enjoy doing, and how you can make the best use of the space that you have available. Research accommodation thoroughly. Unfortunately, many pet store options for purchasing accommodation for these guys, they're just too small. They're just not big enough. Go as big as you can. You'll be surprised how much space these guys need and how much space they'll use if you give it to them. Their accommodation needs to be in a quiet part of the home, particularly for some of the nocturnal species like the little hamsters, and then they won't be disturbed and you're more likely to see natural behaviours from them because they'll feel safe. These rabbits are using a very simple homemade forage activity. So it's just a square cardboard box with safe bits of twigs and hay and stuff stuffed in, so they have to move around the box, they have to stand on their hind legs, they're having a good chew. Again, recreating how they would find food in the wild. We tend to get rid of food bowls where possible with our small animals, and get them hunting for their food and moving around their cages, because that's much more natural. These small guys would be on the move all day long finding food, so this is much more natural way. And there's a list on our website for safe forage that you can find for rabbits and guinea pigs, but with these guys, as much variety as possible. And here's an example of an excellent accommodation for gerbils. They're not necessarily great pets for handling, but my word, are they interesting to watch. So you can give them these cages with the deep bedding at the bottom, and you can watch them burrow and dig tunnels. They will dig, they will chew, they will move stuff around, they'll rearrange everything every single night. And you can see how big this cage is for just a couple of gerbils. And you need to expect them to chew things up. If you put wooden things in their cage, they're going to destroy them. That's part of what they do. But we need to let them. That's part of how they live. And that's a really important part of their need for a behaviour that they do naturally anyway. Then we've got our hamsters. So we've got Syrian hamsters and the dwarf hamsters. These guys are nocturnal, so you want to find a quiet area in the house for them to live, because if you have them in your bedroom or the kids' bedroom, they'll probably keep you awake at night because that's when they are active. And they will be rustling around, running in their wheel, chewing stuff, making noise. And they are going to be more amenable to interacting with you if you are around when they're awake anyway. Try not to wake them up out of their beds. Some will be fine with being handled and picked up, and you might be able to bring them out of their cage and take them to an area where they can explore further. They are, again, a prey species, so lots of places to hide, no sudden movements, and make sure you're calm and quiet around them. The little guys, this little picture is a Roborovsky hamster. They are quite difficult to handle. They're very fast, very easily disappear under the sofa or under the bed. So if you can avoid handling them and just interact with them in other ways, then that's great. They need a large enclosure, again, much bigger than is available in the pet shop. And they also like different deep substrates, so they can burrow and dig. They will burrow around under the substrate and they will dig into the top of it, and they will find different places to sleep. They'll make themselves a little nest. They're not excellent climbers, so you need to be careful that they're not going to climb up too high in their cage and fall. You don't want them to hurt themselves, but they are pretty active. So a wheel is fine. A big enough wheel that they can run in it comfortably is fine, and you can fill their cage with lots of enrichment for them to explore. They don't like a big open tidy space. They like to be in stuff. So yeah, lots of different things that you can give them there. Here we have our rats. I'll start the video so you can actually see what kind of environment we like to give them at Woodgreen. You can see there's lots of things in there for them to climb on. They're very agile. They really enjoy climbing. They're great at it. So you can really make use of height in a rat's accommodation. They like comfy hammocks to sleep in, and as you can see, the staff are sprinkling food around here to encourage them to use all the space and encouraging them to forage. Again, giving them a food bowl is too easy. They need to be stretched mentally, so allowing them to hunt the food and search for the food is a really good way of doing that. They're really really intelligent. animals, so you can train them. Many people train them to do agility courses and things like that. They will also love having free range time. So if you've got a safe space outside of their accommodation, letting them have some free range time out of the cage each day will really help build your bond and keep them used to having humans around. Observe them, find an activity they really like. One of our specialists recommends pea fishing, which is simply floating some peas in some water. Again, maybe your rats are the kind of rats that like to splash around in water, and maybe they're not, but you won't know till you try. So think lots of different activities you can do from them. And again, they would chew up cardboard boxes and they will gnaw on wood, but it's all good for them. Absolutely should be allowed to do it. And last but no means least, we've got our mice. Again, even though they are tiny creatures, they still need a decent sized cage. And as you can see, this accommodation is full to the brim with different things to climb on. In fact, it's so full you can barely see the mice. They are in there. There's a group in here. So lots of things to climb on and up and run across. They're pretty agile and they can make use of every single inch of this space. You will soon work out where their favourite sleeping places are and where their favourite places to come and interact with you are, but again, you can sprinkle food around and let them come and explore and find their favourite bits. Mice will love climbing and exploring in an environment like this. It's super interesting. There's one. Super interesting for children to watch. You do just need to make sure that there are no tiny gaps, little areas, because they will squeeze out because they're so small, especially when they're young. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this talk, really. I hope it's helped you think about the needs of your individual pet a little bit more. This is a very brief talk about all the individual. We've covered a lot of different species and a lot of different types of pet here, but hopefully it's a sort of level at which you can leap off now and go and do some research and really have a look at what kind of stuff your particular individual pet will enjoy. And I hope that it brings you closer and you can develop a great relationship with them. So at Woodgreen, we're happy to give advice. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find a form to fill in on our website. There it is there. And you can find loads of advice articles on there. Certainly the list of forage that you can collect for rabbits and guinea pigs is on the website as well. So it's a good place to start. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, enjoy building that super strong relationship with your pet.